Hello, everybody. Imagine that's how I opened every episode. You're listening to episode 11 of Everyday Sex. Welcome back, guys.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. Today is extra special, the most special, if you will, because we have asked a special guest to join us, my friend Rachel. Woo!
No,
Thank you for having me.
Yes,
yeah,
of course.
if you guys listen to our podcast enough, you'll hear Sarah mention Rachel like a handful of times.
A
Bro, it
lot.
was about to with my face. Like, you talk about me all the time. I just had to be here.
I know, right. Actually, though, because there were so many times where I would run ideas by you and we would chat about like different topics to cover and things like that. So I figured like this episode specifically was almost 100% your ideas. So I said to Stell, like, no, like we're going to have her on the episode so she can talk about it herself. So that's the plan. Yes. But first, okay, I didn't tell either of you this. Um, we're going to start this episode off with a speed round of questions for Rachel to get to know her better. But I didn't tell either of you what the questions are. Just
I'm
made
gonna
it up
black.
last night. So, okay, because our viewers know nothing. Okay, well, so let me start with Rachel and I met in college. We were discussing this morning where and when we met and how, and we were like like friends of friends. Like her friends knew my roommate at Algonquin College, and then we became social media friends. Like we followed each other on Twitter, and then we both posted about wanting to go see Daniel Caesar when he was performing in Ottawa, and then we just went together. It was so random. Like that was the first time we ever met, was going to the concert together, and we were
It
front
was.
row.
Yeah, like we were so close to the stage. I mean, it was so weird because I feel like I'm not that spontaneous now to just like meet up with somebody that I've never spoken to before. But yeah, I think you slid into my DMs, honestly. Beginning of a
Y'all
great
know.
friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and oh my God, my pictures from that concert are crazy. Like he was like a foot in front of us. It was really good. Love him. Yeah. So that's kind of how we met. Rachel, do you want to introduce yourself? Like give like a brief, just who you are, and then I'll go through my spontaneous pop quiz.
I feel like where do I start? I mean, if this feels like an interview, like, do I talk about my education or what?
I know.
I mean, I'm 25, so I feel like I'm like the youth here. I have been in Ottawa for 8 years, ready to leave. Sarah knows that I'm struggling, so if anyone can like link me up with a job in Toronto, slide into my DMs. But other than that, I mean, I don't know. Ask me questions.
Okay, I'll go. Don't have to
Yeah.
list me twice. Okay, 10 questions, speed round. So just give like a brief answer for each one. Number one, what is your favorite sex position?
If I run for
Y'all
government,
knew.
it's gonna haunt me in the future. I feel like prone. That's my favorite.
Like what?
Prone bone, where you're like laying on your stomach.
Why have I never heard? I've never heard that. What did you call it?
It's called prone. It's basically like a
Prone?
flat doggy style.
Yeah.
Prone? Like
So
Prone?
nobody here knows this yet. I'm straight, so that maybe adds more
Oh yeah.
information on what this position is.
Maybe we should have mentioned that. Yes,
Yeah.
we have our first straight guest.
So Google
Yeah.
it. Just Google prone if you don't know what it is. But yeah.
I can't believe me of all people doesn't know
Yes, they are.
prone bone. Is that what you called it? Sex position where the girl is laying flat on her belly and with penis entry from behind. Yeah, that's a good one. No, I like that too. I guess okay. Anyways, all right. I can't believe you said something I didn't know that. That's just crazy. Okay, number two. Number two. What is your favorite music artist these days?
Um, it was The Weeknd, and then he did that disgusting TV show that I can't talk about. So I feel like he's kind of giving me the ick. But
Mm.
I mean, I do like Morgan Wallen. Is that okay to say? I like
Yeah,
Morgan.
I say it too. Yeah. I was like, no.
Okay, you know what? I actually love Morgan Wallen. Like, I remember one day I was getting ready, and my roommate was like sitting in the room, and I'm like, I always come and show her my outfits because I need constant approval from everyone.
Mhm.
Um, so I'm going in and out doing my own little fashion show, and I said, "All right, here's my outro song," and I'm playing like house CDM while I'm getting ready and like pop up music. And then I go and change it, and I put on Morgan Wallen, and she was like, "This is not what I expected as your outro."
Your outro. That's so funny.
I grew up listening to country. I mean, I'm from a really small town. Like, no one even knows what it's called. But I grew up listening to country, and then I moved here, and I completely fell off. Like, we never listened to that shit in college and university. And then I feel like Morgan Wallen just came and like grabbed music by the balls, and everyone's
Oh,
listening to him, and I dig it. I like it. So maybe
Mm-hmm.
him.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
yeah.
nice.
Nice.
Love that. Okay, question number 3. Cats or dogs?
Cats for
Yeah,
sure.
you're the cat. Question number 4. Oh, whatever. 2 against 1.
I like dogs. I just cats are just better. But go on.
I'd just like everyone here to know I disagree. I'm the minority in this group here, but that's fine. Question number 4. What makes you laugh?
Oh fuck. I have a really dark sense of humor. Sarah knows that. I can't repeat half the shit we talk about, but definitely like a dark, sarcastic sense of humor. Probably
Mm-hmm.
would be.
Love it. Now, question number 5. Are you an introvert, extrovert, or a bit of both?
I think it's called an omnivert when you're like both. I might have just made that up. There's one that's like both. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I'm kind of like depending on who I'm around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yep. Because you spend time at home and you're a homebody, but you're also at a lot of different concerts and like events and things like that. And you were just in Greece a couple weeks ago, like you're traveling and whatever. So yeah, a bit of both makes sense. I feel like a lot of people answer with that, like
It
sort of
really
thing.
depends on, yeah, like it's who I'm around. I mean, if I'm around someone who doesn't fucking speak, then I won't speak. But if they talk,
Mm,
I'll talk. Like I just kind of
mm.
go with the flow.
Yeah, true. Question number 6. What's one thing that you love about yourself? One physical and not one non-physical. This is you're allowed to flex. That's what you're here for.
Physical, I think just me in general. I like my body and I like my face. So
Oh,
that
hell yes. Okay.
not that I feel like independent. I think I'm super independent, kind of like ride with my own, like I do what I want to do kind of thing, and I don't necessarily need validation from people, which if you asked me years ago, I definitely did, but I would say my independence is definitely something that I like.
Okay. Love it. Okay. Question number 7. What is your astrology sign?
Capricorn.
Cool.
No,
Oh, yes.
Okay, I don't follow that. Let me just get this on the record. I don't know anything about any astrological bullshit. I'm so sorry. Like,
I
I don't
don't
know
really
what
either.
my rising sign. Hello, what is that?
Yeah,
I
I know. It we feel like in the gay community people are more into it. Stella, you're a little into it because you've Capricorn slandered on here before.
yeah. Why
Tons
did
of
you just do
time.
that? What did I?
I
Because
have
her
trauma.
because Josephine is a Capricorn,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Okay, but you
That's
like
why.
Joseph. I mean, you did at one time. So
Yeah. Not at this time.
It was
Anyways,
all.
moving forward.
It was
Question,
all a dream.
okay. Question number 8. Who is your celebrity crush?
um, I don't know. Right now, I'm like going through a cowboy phase. So I just finished 1883 and Tim McGraw was in it and he was so fucking hot. So, I mean, maybe him right now, but ask me in a week and it'll be like Rihanna. So
Yeah.
I'm all over the place.
That's funny. She is straight, by the way, contrary to what she.
Yeah.
But that's okay. A crush is different. Yeah. Okay. Question number 9. What are 3 things that you look for in a potential partner?
100% respect, because I think respect goes hand in hand with so many things. Like, if you respect me, you're going to be loyal to me. If you respect me, I can trust you. If you respect me, you're going to be there for me. So 100% respect. Um, Humor for sure. If you can't make me laugh, it's not going anywhere. And I don't know, like, you got to be tall. I'm 6 foot, so above 5'10" maybe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Okay, good. Last question. Question number 10. What are you passionate about?
I I don't know. I feel like I'm not passionate about anything.
What do you like
I mean,
you go
do you
ahead.
mean like career wise, or like just my day to day?
Like like I guess just like I'm passionate about sex positivity and spreading awareness and making people more comfortable with their sexuality. That's what when people ask me, that's normally my answer.
Hmm.
So it's not really like it could be career. That could be a career for me, but it's more just like what do I see myself being different than if I'm in a group of people, what sets me apart that I'm passionate about that I could take somewhere or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good question. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Can it be
You've
like,
done a lot of, you've, sorry, I'm like, okay, don't talk over each other. I'm like talking over you. You've done a lot of work with like victim services. And I feel like maybe, like, would you say that you're passionate about like that?
yeah, I mean, I guess like passionate about helping people. So for reference, I took crim in school, and then community and justice services at Algonquin. So I guess passionate about helping people, but I feel like that sounds so cliche, so I hate saying it.
No, but that's true. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. I would say that. Stella, what are you
Getting
passionate about?
It's a hard question. Like, she's sitting there.
Yeah, you put me on the spot. I like what I do as my day job.
Helping kids.
Yeah, I'm good at it, and yeah, I
So you're
guess
passionate.
that and
It is a
Now I
hard question.
feel way better about myself now, because I was like, I blacked out and Stell did too. So we're good.
Can't think of anything. That is kind of a hard question. Um, okay, so that concludes our speed round of questions. Thank you for your participation. Um, our episode today, a topic that Rachel had pitched to me a couple weeks ago when we were on FaceTime, is called Sexpectations, which is obviously a play on the word sex and expectations. So, pretty clever stuff. And so, what we kind of want to focus on today is mostly the expectations around sex, relationships, genders, all that kind of stuff, but as well, like expectations around, like, I don't know, just people being a woman. I don't know, like, just like mostly expectations around like sex, but also just life and how we see that. So, um, starting off, okay, okay, so I'm going to start off with the one that I am the most fiery about. And Rachel and I have been talking about this since we were like kids, like since we met, we've bonded over this um like topic or whatever or phenomenon or whatever. um the expectation, oh my god, like I'm getting mad thinking about it. Okay, the expectation in a heterosexual relationship that after the guy comes that sex is done, that's the like that signifies that sex, you've now completed the activity when a guy comes. How do you feel about that, Rachel?
I mean, I it's so funny because I feel like it really doesn't change. Like, I throughout college and university, and before I was friends with Sarah, like, I really viewed men as like I needed their validation, but when I became friends with you, you definitely held me to a higher standard of like that fucking 3 strike rule of if they don't make you finish, you've had sex with them 3 times, it's done. So I mean, it's like it's kind of shitty, and I think I didn't know any better, right? Like when I was in college, I feel like you don't know any better. It's like, okay, yeah, he's finished, it's done. I'm not confident enough to ask for more or expect more. That was just the standard. And like above all my friends, I don't know many of my friends in college and university who were having good sex. It was just you were having sex with guys, right? Like they did not care to make you finish. Um, so it's frustrating. And I mean, does it change though? Like I'm 25 now and I feel like it still happens. So but I
Yeah.
don't know, how is that different in like a non heterosexual relationship?
Um okay, well, so what okay, my first thought on that, and something we've kind of touched on before, that I try to drill to people is like, and this is way more important to me in lesbian relationships now. You don't have to climax. I think the pressure for both people to finish sometimes takes away all the fun of it. So, like, as long as both parties are comfortable, having fun, experiencing pleasure, and they want to be doing this, then half an hour of foreplay, like for me and a partner, half an hour of making out and like eating each other out and like just whatever, like playing with each other, and if nobody finishes, that's fine, because the pressure to do so, especially as a woman, because for, okay, and this is, I mean, I'm not a man, I'm not a penis owner, so maybe I don't know, but it seems a lot easier. Like it's like pretty straightforward. Okay, Stell, I don't need that. I don't need that look.
Pretty straightforward.
I know you know, so don't come for me, right? um it's like I've never been in a, unless there was like whiskey dick or like an erectile dysfunction involved. I've never been with a man where that was the problem, where like, oh, he couldn't finish. Like a lot of the time that's the easiest thing to happen, right? With two women, like sometimes it, like you're in your head and you're not going to come. Like sometimes you will, sometimes you won't. And making that the ultimate goal puts stress on both people, and more likely to get in your head and make it less enjoy make it
Enjoyable.
less enjoyful. I'm
Enjoyable.
enjoyable.
Rachel and
Oh,
I are like enjoyable,
Yeah.
and
great.
Anyways, so does it change, like for girls? I don't know, Stell. What do you think?
I think that at a time, I think I've spoken about this before. At a time, I was like, oh my god, like why can't, like if I ever made someone not finish, and I'd be like, what? But now I don't really like. I care, but like I now know that it's not all about that. But yeah, from like I guess in the men's side, like on the straight hetero side, that's like a huge thing. Like that's like not even from you guys that I hear you talk about it all the time. It's like a lot of people talk about it all the time, and it's crazy. Like after how much we've progressed as a world in that kind of area, you'd think that it would have gotten better, but I find it's still not even like a thing people think about.
I think for me, what is important is like, do they try? Like that, I
Yeah,
think is the key word there with guys. Like, yeah, there's been times where a guy has tried and you're in your head or you just can't finish, and that's completely natural, but did they try? Because
yeah,
so
Mhm.
many people don't care. So that definitely changes my opinion on it. If they tried and I don't finish, then yeah, the 3 strike rule isn't going to apply there. But I feel like a lot of times it's that they don't try, which is
Mhm.
that's the problem.
yeah.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, "Oh, you didn't come?" That
Ah,
like as if just like them penetrating you aggressively when you're not even wet yet for like 38 seconds, and they're like, "Oh, you didn't just I thought you came." It's like,
No, like
"What?"
I have this thing where, oh my god, I can't even believe I'm gonna say this, but I had like the guy was like rubbing my inner thigh and I guess thought that it was my vagina. And I just am like, can we just
Ah.
And then he's like, "Did you finish?" Yeah, I
You
did.
said finish what? This conversation? Yes, we're done. Get out.
Oh my god.
I mean,
That was traumatic.
that's you're trauma dumping right now. That
I
would
feel like I have a
never.
trauma bond. I feel like I have a trauma bond to you now.
No. That would never happen with women. That's the difference too. Like, well, and a lot to do with like we have those parts, so it's easier to navigate. Like, and
You
that's fair.
think? You
Well, yeah.
think?
Although everybody's vulva is totally different, so like
Exactly.
there is still exploring to do there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a it's like a jungle, an
Okay.
Amazon maze. You have to like everything's different.
Navigate.
Stell's had war flashbacks. Did that happen to you too?
What? Not being able to
Yeah, yeah,
find.
that's happened before. Yeah.
That's okay. So it's not just me. I'm not.
No, it's
Okay.
not. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
everybody's vulva is so different. Like it does take a bit of time. And I find that time, like when I've been with women, it's like I find myself feeling this is not good, but I find myself feeling embarrassed in that time when I'm like first getting the lay of the land. I'm like, is this? And then I'll sometimes like jokingly be like, oh, like, is this like, well, I don't know. Communicating is important. So I
It's
have no
still
problem.
hard though.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
still
'cause I
hard.
don't like to not know what I'm doing. Nobody likes
Even
that.
vice, even like the other way around. Like I've been with girls where like they'll be going for it and like, but it's mostly happens like when it's like when you like kind of like sneakily start off and you're like still in your clothes, so they're like rubbing you over your clothes at first,
Mhm.
and like they think they're rubbing the right spot, and you're like, that's actually closer to my belly button than
Oh,
what.
I thought you
but
were gonna say your asshole.
but no, but yeah. So it's like it's so, like, and I even get embarrassed for that, like, cause like, and I'm still working on it. It's like I like, how do I tell this person you're actually not even fucking close? Like,
Can't you just
like
grab their hand and like move it?
yeah, I guess, but I find, is that gonna be comfortable enough for them? Like, am I
I
gonna just
think
make them feel bad?
yeah, like I don't want to make someone feel bad. I'm really bad at advocating for myself in bed, which I
Mm,
think you could do a whole episode on how to advocate for yourself in bed. Like it's a really tricky thing to navigate. How do you say what you want and how do you speak up when it's something that you don't want? Because I don't want to hurt someone's feelings. Like if you're rubbing my inner thigh, like I mean, maybe I'll just sit there and I'll just put up with it because I'm too fucking scared, too
Mhm.
fucking scared to say anything.
yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
And we don't want to embarrass people. And like, I would say that was way more of a problem between like 18 and 22, the sex I was having then. You're so right. Something you said a couple minutes ago, we weren't having good sex in college. We were just having sex. And that's
Yeah.
so true. Like, that's
Yeah.
so true. And so I agree that like a lot of times you don't you don't want to say I don't like that, or like the other person really likes it, whatever they're doing, and so you just like let it happen. And so a lot of the time I feel like sex that I was having in college, like I was just like being fucked, but I wasn't really participating and getting what I needed, for sure not until I was like in my mid to later 20s like I am now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know one thing like Stell has brought up a few times is navigating having sex when you're sober is so fucking different than when you're drunk. Because when you're drunk, it's so much easier to be like, let's do this, or you're like
Mm.
more, you're able to like speak up more. But when
Oh
you're,
yeah.
it's a whole different ball game. Like, I mean, I guess Sarah doesn't really know that because you've not really like played both sides of the field in terms of being drunk having sex, but it's so fucking different when you're sober to be able to say like I don't like that or let's try this because you're just fucking scared. So I
Yeah. I
think
was
it's
I
different.
was
Like
recently just talking to someone about that like, I was like, I don't know. I guess like, I when I'm drunk, I didn't care what we did. Like, I was like freaky and would do whatever. Really, I'd be like, "You want to try this? Sure, whatever. Let's do it." But like sober me would never do that now. I'm like, I don't want to do those things. That's scary. I'm scared. I'm just the baby.
Okay.
And I think that goes into another one of the expectations is this expectation of like how you're supposed to look during sex, and that completely that interconnects so well with the drunk sex too, because when you're drunk, I'm not thinking about how I look. Like you're on another planet at that point, and it doesn't matter. But then you're sober, and I'm like, how do I look? Like should I take my shirt off? Oh, I'm really self-conscious. Or what you guys spoke about, I think in the last episode, like certain positions, maybe you don't want to do that because you're sober and you're worrying. So that's another huge thing, is that expectation of looking a certain way. And definitely it gets harder when you're sober because you're really analyzing it even more.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's tons of times where I've not gone into certain positions because of how my stomach would look or because of whatever. And like, I've absolutely limited my own pleasure to like protect my like image. And the whole like backwards part of that is if you're having sex with the right person, they don't care. Like they don't
Yeah.
care. Like they love your body. Like, and if they don't, then don't sleep with them. Like what the fuck? Like, but no, for sure. And I like you said, I don't drink, but I can see how it'd be a very, very different activity in each state. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's like it's definitely changed to how many people I have sex with, because now I used to use alcohol as a crutch to have sex. Like I would be too nervous to have sex sober or to go on a date sober. Yo, Stella and I are like the same person in that aspect. Like I was fucking, even a date, I'm like chugging before I go because I'm so
I
nervous.
know.
So,
I used to literally like take a couple shots before a day. I'd be like,
bro, same. So now when I'm like trying to get more of a serious relationship, it's definitely impacted that, because I'm definitely not out here having sex with everybody because I'm sober and it makes me nervous.
yeah, I feel that.
hmm and what do you think, Stella, about like the conversation about like bodies and sex and how that affect like the expectations and maybe the expectations of body and such as a mask presenting person?
Yeah, I find I see a lot of videos, and we've talked about social media and everything so many times about how it affects people. So when let's say, like, first thought comes to mind is I look on TikTok, I see masks, they're all these studs, they're all fit, they're pretty, they're like decently tall, and some of them are short, but like they're like skinny and fit, and like, you know what I mean? I'm like, because I'm not super skinny, and I'm like, well, not gonna do a video like that ever. Or, and even when I think about like, and body in general is always such a big thing for, I don't think just anyone, I think it's like for everyone, like everyone feels this way, I would assume. um but like body, as like for myself, if like speaking for myself, is that like it's still a big problem for me, and it's kind of always been. And we've talked about this with me and my top surgery, and like, so that's also a big thing. And I think about it a lot, of like, when I do get top surgery, how I'm going to feel after. And for sure there's been times in my, like, in my thought process that I'm like, am I going to regret this? Like,
Mm.
if I get this surgery, will I regret it? Like, is there any part? And sometimes I feel like I should feel like I might regret it, but then, like, at the end of the day, I'm like, ugh, but no, like, I'm not. And I genuinely think that if I had top surgery, I would feel a lot more confident having sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that I'm just, like the top surgery thing because yeah, a lot of mask women probably agree with what you're saying and kind of like the when you're mask presenting almost that like you don't want to highlight that area because it's
Yeah.
like you're trying to be like you want to present masculine. I don't know. And but
Yeah.
that we've had conversations about, just because you're masked doesn't mean you're not like a woman, or however you identify, of course. But I can think of times with partners where it was like very obvious that I would have my bra off and I would be topless during sex, but they would keep the sports bra on. And that's like definitely something you see on TikTok and like just like lesbian comments, is that the mask woman's sports bra remains on. Like
Yeah.
just it kind of, because it keeps like an illusion almost.
And I think it's like I think it's just like an internal issue that I think no one's really dealt with, because
Mm,
like I don't think that's entirely like what's like, and I do it. So I'm
mhm,
like, what am I hiding? Like what why am I keeping this on? You know what I mean? Is it a safe thing for me? Is it a comfort? Is it like I don't want to like make them seem like too girly, or is it like, you know what I mean? And like I have bigger breasts, and um and and like all these TikTok like masks I see have like, for the most part, a majority of them are pretty flat chested, and they still have the sports bra on. So it's even more of a thing for me where I'm like, fuck, I look nothing like this,
mhm.
and I still think of myself as like an attractive person, and I have my days, but then like I see those and I'm like, wow, how am I supposed to compete with that? I mean,
Uh,
even if I do get my top surgery, like I'm still not gonna be super skinny. Yeah,
Mhm.
10 pounds are gonna be chopped away, but still, like, I don't know, you know?
yeah. Yeah, no, yeah, I get that. Have you heard the term CSP? My cousin used it with me the other day. It stands for current sexual partner.
Oh, okay.
So like not your girlfriend or whatever, but so my current sexual partner is, yeah, no names, of course. Y'all know I would not name drop on this podcast unless I was in a relationship. Anyways, my current sexual partner is mask presenting, and she, um, why are you laughing?
Not.
Okay, well, no, this doesn't need to be a huge. What I just wanted to say about her was that she's been with other people before me, which is like disgusting.
Shut up.
um, but no, nobody, like when she and I got together sexually, and I was kind of like, not like, of course, I would only ever do what is consensual and what she's comfortable with or whatever. But it's taken a while for her to be comfortable taking off the sports bra and like her being naked at all. And when we talk about it, she just kind of said, she's like, this is just also different for me. No partner has ever like cared about my pleasure in that way, and like kind of wanted my body in that way. Like all the other shitty women that she's been with have been very fine with just like stone top pillow princess. I won't do anything to you. You keep your sports bra. Like stay fully dressed. I don't care as long as you can strap. Like whatever. And you do things to me, and like just nobody ever really cared to like get to know her body in that way. So, and that's like we're both 27 years old and she's learning about all of this. So I think it just goes to the conversation about how masked women's sexual pleasure might not be prioritized as much as the
Yes.
femme in the bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like interesting why that is, because typically, like, so men, their pleasure is always prioritized. So you would assume that like the mask woman would be prioritized as well. So like,
I've never thought of that.
That's
That's
it's
so
wild.
interesting.
but
Yeah.
is that because the mask woman is like more like they're just like a better version of a man basically, so you get the benefits of a man but like also better in bed.
That's so interesting. Why is it that that is such
We masks are elite.
But like, don't you think for like Stell, like as a masked woman, like should you not be like if it's kind of like a man, like should your sex, the outcome of sex for you not be prioritized? Like how it's similar to men. Like it's just interesting that difference. How a man in the bedroom is like, I'm gonna finish. This is about me. But then you
Mhm.
kind of compare that to a masked woman where it's like from what you're saying, it's not prioritized at all.
No, like I've honestly, a lot of the females that I have slept with have been like mostly me doing it to them, and then like we do it again, then and they do it eventually. But like the first couple of times, like it's usually me doing it to them, which also is like a me thing sometimes where I'm like, eek,
Protection.
don't touch me there. It's my
No square.
It's exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
I have like a chastity belt on, like full locks,
Yeah.
bolts, like
Yeah.
but yeah. So
No,
maybe that's all.
that is like I've never ever thought of that. So thank you, Rachel. That is such an interesting comment. I feel like there's so much to unpack there. Like, why is that? Because yeah, I've never. Oh wow, no, that's really interesting. So kind of on that lane, the expectations of like, well, we're kind of discussing the expectations of like masc and femme, but what are those expectations like in a straight relationship, Rachel?
Oh,
I don't really know. I think definitely the expectation that a man's going to finish. Like, I think the expectation that he's prioritized in bed. And I mean, that definitely goes from partner to partner because you could have a male partner and like Sarah, you have that definitely prioritize you. So it's definitely not all men that do that, but I would say just that expectation that they're prioritized for sure in the right relationship. And kind of like going from that, I don't know how it would look in a non-heterosexual relationship, but that expectation that you're supposed to have sex all the time. Like that expectation, if you're not having sex every day, there's something wrong with you. And I'm not sex driven in a relationship. I enjoy sex if it's with a partner that I like, and we can connect, and I do enjoy it. But sex does not drive me in a relationship. Physical touch is not my love language. I could easily go a week or two without having sex, and then maybe that third week we have sex every day that week. But it just is not a driving thing for me. But I wonder how that changes because I know in a heterosexual relationship, a lot of women can understand this. It's that expectation that you are having sex with your partner daily. Like you are pleasing the man you need to put out when they want it, which is, it can be a hard thing to roll with because when I was seeing men, I used to have this thought in my head of like, okay, we didn't have sex the last time we hung out. So that means I have to have sex this time because men really like sex. And if I don't have sex with him, like he'll just go find another woman. But what does that look like with two girls? Is there that expectation as well, or?
oh,
Okay, well, first of all, I want to say fuck. I remember that feeling so much. Like, oh man, like, oh yeah, exactly. Like we didn't have sex the last two times we hung out. Okay, and then you're like, do it. You're like, the meme where the girl's got all the math going on, like in her, and she's like, like even when I was with,
Like, what do I need to fuck this? Like, it's literally a beep boop boop.
yeah,
Like, it's been
I'm
two
like,
times.
what about just head? Is that where does that put me on on our scale? Um yeah, even in like long-term relationships, I'd be like, okay, like living with Jack, I was like I would, yeah, I mean obviously sexually was where we fell out at the end, but I would like, and if he had it his way, like multiple times a day, 7 days a week, all the time. And like it's nice to be wanted like that and to have somebody that is so desiring of you, like that feels good. But sometimes you just don't want to or whatever. But I would definitely factor like, okay, it's Wednesday, the last time we had sex was Sunday, okay, like not really feeling it today, but if I do it tomorrow kind of in the morning, like what the fuck, like it should be when you want to. I have never once felt that way with a woman. Stell? I mean, okay, wait, sorry.
Like,
I guess
Stella,
I would still like kind of, I'm the only, because the only long-term relationship I had was with Brittany. So I guess I would still, I would think about it. Like there'd be times where I'd be like, oh, it's been a week. Like you said, Rachel, like by the book or by like society norms, if it's not like multiple times a week or once a day or whatever, then, you know, there's something wrong with the relationship, whatever. But definitely way, way more with men. Like, oh, men like sex. I need to please the man that I'm with, or he'll go and find someone else, like you said. So way less with women, but still a bit of a feeling of like obligation still.
I would say, well, I think, and I mentioned this another episode where I said I'm not huge on sex either, kind of thing. Like I don't really like my current sex partner.
The
um,
SP, yeah.
yeah, like we did it once a couple of weeks ago, and we haven't done it since. And like I'm fine with that. Like I'm cool with that. But then others find maybe that means something's wrong. Maybe there is, maybe there isn't. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, to be honest. Like, what are you laughing at?
No, nothing. No, I
um,
agree. I agree.
um, but like just in general, that's like physical touch is my love language, but not in like a sexual way.
Mhm.
Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah.
I prefer someone constantly, like, I don't know, like wanting to hold my hand or putting their hand on my back or my lower back or like my head or like just my thigh or something, or even just like a little, like, I don't know, just like very small, intimate touches, like that I know they're like thinking about me, they're aware, like it's like an awareness thing, like
I
I
think
like, yeah,
that to me is why sex compatibility is so fucking huge. And yeah, physical touch doesn't mean sex. I think that's a huge misconception is when someone says my love, and especially guys, you'll be like, oh, what's your love language? And I say physical touch, and they're like, oh yeah, you like to fuck. Like it's like they think that that means you like to fuck, and that's just not what it means. But I think sex compatibility is huge because you definitely like that could ruin a relationship if their sexual needs are really high and sex is not a driving force for you. It's not a priority. Um, but I do think it's kind of hard to find guys who don't prioritize sex like that. Like again, I like to have sex and I certainly think it's a
yeah,
great thing to connect with a partner and it can be really fun, but I don't prioritize the way that a lot of men do. So it's tricky to navigate that in that heterosexual sphere where you've got the opposite who loves sex so much. Like how
yeah,
do I find a man that doesn't prioritize it?
yeah, and I like sex, don't get me wrong. Like I find it also depends on the partner, like in general. Like there's some partners that I don't need to really have a huge sexual thing with because I have such an intense emotional thing with, or maybe I have such an intense emotional and sexual with some, you know what I mean? They could say it's all different of what kind of connection I have with a person. Like my last ex was emotional and sexual, but then it just kind of went down to like emotional and then whatever. And then like the one before was like mostly sexual and not very emotional. And like you know what I mean? Like they all kind of vary.
Hmm. I've never thought of it like that, but it's making me think about relationships I've had and like what the kind of balance was between different different parts of our connection. So that's really interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
I do wonder if like if you have a guy like yeah it's just such a weird thing to navigate as a girl who's interested in guys because it's just something that they prioritize so heavily and I think I do like physical touch but I think it's but I do have friends who have guys they've been dating for years and they're like yeah we can go 2 weeks without having sex and everything's perfectly fine in the relationship so kind of to what Stell was saying like there's an assumption that if you're not having sex every day or like constantly that there's something wrong in your relationship. That's like definitely an assumption or some people will judge you and be like, "Oh, you don't have sex that much." And it's definitely a negative assumption that people have about you.
Also, I find like growing up more like late high school, early college, where there'd be like, I mean, it's very well possible that all of these women had high sex drives, but the very like pick me girls that are like, I have the highest sex drive ever, I have to have sex 6 times a day, like minimum. And like kind of like in front of the guys to like appeal to them. And maybe they did have a high sex drive. Maybe I'm just being judgmental, but I don't know. I always thought that it was like a flex sort of to like get men. And why is it that men's sex drive? Because if you were to interview 10 women and 10 men, I would assume, right, like to what you're saying, Rachel, that like 9 if not 10 men would put sex as like in their top 3 priorities, and women maybe like 5 would put it in their top 3, like if all straight couples, like
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends, like, kind of what Stell was saying. Like, what does the emotional connection look like? Because I know if I've been with a guy who really likes me and likes me for more than my body, we're probably maybe not having sex as much versus if I'm seeing, I mean, Sarah knows, like, if I'm talking to an athlete, yeah, they're probably mostly just talking to me because I have a big ass and it's just like sex is a priority. But if I've been with a guy who really actually likes me, I feel like it kind of drops. You
Mhm.
know, like they prioritize more than just the sex when they really like the girl.
Mhm.
But if it's just kind of a casual thing, like definitely sex is
Yeah.
way up there.
And I think across all types of relationships, gay, straight, whatever it is, however you identify, um, it's very lustful at the beginning, like where it's you're all over each. Oh, and not in all time, not with everybody I've been with, but with a lot of them. At that first few like months together, first few weeks is very like, oh my God, like you just can't get enough of the other person. And then you think about your like 30th year of marriage, like how often are they having sex? Like probably not every day, but who knows?
Jeez.
Yeah. But also
Wow.
the other, when I think about men and their expectation of sex, one topic that like cannot go unsaid is porn. Like the expectation that men have, because these men start watching porn at whatever, like 13 years old, of like big fake.
And it's so like just wrong in so many ways in the sense of like how it's perceived, you know what I mean? Like there are some porn sites that are very well done and like ran properly and stuff and they're realistic and giving like realistic expectations and stuff like that, whereas like these are so toxic, like some sex sites that are just like
Well,
fucked.
Pornhub, I mean, everybody's first porn site and everybody's like go to because it's
Yeah.
easy and free, and that's where like a lot of the content is. Like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fuck, talking about expectations and sexpectations, the expectation that women have H cup breasts, flat stomachs, and a gaping asshole left to
and
get.
and and can double penetrate plus suck
They're
your
doing
dick
no, like
so
they're doing
far down.
no, like the expectation that they're doing splits and cartwheels on your dick because they've grown up watching Pornhub and that's what they think sex is
That's
really like.
fucked.
Right.
But
I'm
it's
like,
just
brother, I can barely touch my toes.
Well, the
Like,
expectation that a woman comes just from like women have several different ways, as we know, like their like internal stimulation where they can come. Our sex expert Nat taught us about the, I think, A spot, which is like deeper in your vagina
mm,
or your vulva, where you can
yeah.
come, and we know men have like a G spot in their ass that can be stimulated, but and then like I feel like most women, for me, I've never ever ever come just from penetration. Like there's clitoral stimulation always. um so the idea in porn that these women are moaning, like the moaning, like I for sure, like when I'm feeling a lot of pleasure, like there are natural sounds that I make, but
Yep. Yep.
absolutely the noises I
What does it
made
sound like?
in college were because of what I saw on porn, for sure. 100%. What are you laughing at?
I just wanted like a demonstration or something. I don't
My neighbors, my poor neighbors know my dog. I can't. It
know.
has to come naturally, so can't. Um, but right, like, and the idea that like these men, that's why these men like come. So this is why these men have sex with us, when we're in college, dry vagina, dry vulva, whatever, like pound town for like 1 minute and maybe a minute. That's like a max. And then they say, "Did you come?" Because the porn they're watching, these women are yelping and moaning over like, yeah.
Yelping.
Right?
You sound like me last night. You were hurting so bad at work, and I was like, the dogs are yelping. Yep.
That's actually the noise I make when I'm fucking. That's cool.
Oh god.
But yeah, Rachel, expectations from porn. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, definitely expectations about how you look, how you act, all of that. But I think that's why compatibility is so big because, like there's some guys who don't eat girls out. Like they won't go down on a girl. And for
That's
me, that's a
fucked.
jailable offense because I only finish if there's some kind of clitoral stimulation, like penetration only. It doesn't do it for me. It's not going to make me finish. So if a guy says, yeah, I don't really go down on girls, like, okay, then bye. Like that to me that's the biggest
Like, do you
non-negotiable.
hate yourself?
Right.
Are you straight? But like I don't know. Some guys just don't do it. And to me, again, that's the sex compatibility is not only how often you're gonna have sex, but it also looks like what are you gonna do in bed? But I think this goes back to that expectation from porn because like from watching these fucking fake things on Pornhub, the guy will go down on the girl for like 10 seconds.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
legitimately, it's like 5 seconds. They're probably vomiting in their brain because they don't want to do it.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, he's gonna get his dick sucked for 7 minutes. Like her throat's gonna be fucking just deceased after that. But then he's gonna go down on her for 10 seconds. And
Yeah,
then
he's
again,
gonna.
dry
Oh my
vagina.
god.
So yeah, it's an expectation
Really?
that that also sets such a huge expectation for girls are not prioritized in the bedroom, and I blame it on Pornhub
Mhm.
for sure.
Damn.
Yeah. Oh man, that's so true.
That's
Oh, that's so true. It's
Jeez.
so unfair. Like I've always been like that's so flattering, Rachel, that you said that I was like a person that helped you, realize your worth like sexually and stuff. That's so exciting. I would put that on my resume probably. But because I've always been like really big on that as women, demanding to take up space in the bedroom and like being an advocate for themselves in the bedroom. And because when we're young, it's
That's
just not prioritized and it's not spoken about either. Like, when are parents ever
yeah.
talk? Well, parents, I mean, yeah, my parents wouldn't talk to me about my pleasure either. And like, I don't think I'd want to talk to them about that. But just even in the media or whatever, like, women are just portrayed as like objects. I mean, this could be a 6-hour conversation, right? But
Well,
um,
that being said, like I just recently watched the Barbie
dog.
movie, and that's like a big thing.
Yeah, okay, Rachel hasn't seen it, but just pretend that you have.
Oh,
I know. That's a jailable offense, if anything. That's
dude.
I
I
actually think we need to cancel this
yeah.
episode.
stop recording. I honestly I've had probably 6 people text me because they know that I would love the movie, and I just haven't gotten around to it. But I mean, talk about it because I'm sure I'll agree with literally
Yeah.
everything.
Well, I just recently watched it, and I sobbed. It was so good, and it's just I don't know. It's just like wow. So many times I was like, yeah,
Yeah.
don't give up. Don't give up. Like, just come on. You got this. Like,
No, it's so good. And yeah, no, that absolutely goes into the conversation of expectations, like the expectations of women and how perfectly the movie outlines, like in a funny way, how women are treated by men. And then when the roles are reversed and the men are being treated that way and like the difference and all that, like, yeah, no, it's a really, really great movie. And I cried too. Like, it was like very good. And
it was very well done.
it's because it focuses on Barbie, which is for a lot of us something that was important when we were 8, 9, and 10 years old. I found that it did bring out, like, it spoke to like Sarah,
Oh
like my
yeah.
childhood self, which like,
Oh, for
right.
sure. Even like the Ken thing. Like when I was a kid, I always thought I was weird because I only wanted to play with the Ken doll mostly, and I didn't really get it, and that makes sense now. But but like watching this movie and yes, I had a Barbie, but in a sense, I almost felt forced to have a connection with this Barbie character and not this Ken person. Like Barbie, you know what I mean? And there's always Ken and Barbie, Ken and Barbie, and I get it as well. And there's a point in the movie where you can just see how like helpless he is, and I'm like, wow, like I understand that feeling of not really knowing who you are
Mhm.
and all that stuff, and it's like very very draining, and like in both ways. And now having and like towards I did have some sort of connection with Barbie as well, but like it was very complicated for me as a kid, and so now when I see this movie, I honestly think I feel more connected
Mhm.
like to Barbie and Ken than I ever have.
Yeah. And I was worried, like, going into it, people are like, "Oh, it's just like a doll movie," but it's not. It's
Mhm.
definitely set, like, the humor is set for our age group. Like, when I was looking around at the little kids in the audience, I was like, "Y'all would not be getting these jokes," like, because they were, like, highly, like, sexual and stuff. Um, but I was
Yeah.
worried that, like, because um, part of my relationship with Barbie that wasn't very positive, hi to Stell's cat, who's on cam, um, was the body image stuff, like the perfect Barbie doll
Oh
body.
yeah.
Like, I actually did a presentation in my psychology class in grade 11, and I dressed up as Barbie, and I did this whole, like, whatever presentation on Barbie's impact on young women's body image. But I felt like it was properly handled in the movie. You know what I mean? It's not like
Mhm. I
it
agree.
wasn't something that was important to anybody there, like, sort of thing.
Yeah. It was very well. It was honestly everything, every topic in that movie was handled very, very well. I think.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, okay, and then kind of off that, outside of we've spoken a lot about the roles and expectations sexually, but what about, like, just and this is very Barbie related, just expectations of gender, like, um, of course, there's that old fashioned expectation that the woman stays home and raises a family while the man works, and um, all of that, sort of like that the woman is cooking and cleaning and the man sits on the couch and is just like, I feel like just like catered to in a way. What are your thoughts on
Mm.
that, like, now in 2023, Rachel?
Uh, I think that they're, I mean, I think times are changing. I feel like life is not as much of a cycle. My dad always tells me this. He's like, life does not have to be the same cycle it was years ago. Like, it doesn't have to be a man marrying a woman and having a golden retriever. Nothing against golden retrievers, by the way, I love them, but like having that and having the 2 car garage, the white picket fence, the 2 kids, a boy and a girl. Like, it doesn't have to look like that. So I think we've come a long way in terms of gender expectations. But when I think of that, I think of this song, Taylor Swift's song, The Man. And it's like, it literally perfectly exemplifies the way that women and men can do the exact same thing. And for women, the way that it's viewed is so different. Like, the one example I think she says is if a man has a certain idea, he's seen as he's like a really good planner, but the girl's seen as like it's calculated and there's something negative about it. Or
Mhm.
if a woman speaks up, she's seen as like a bitch or she's bossy, whereas a man's just seen as like he's
A strong
powerful.
leader.
Um,
Hmm.
yeah, so I think in terms of relationships, I think it is different. I mean, I also think it depends on what kind of partner you have in your life. Like, if you're talking to these, I think this is the right term, like the red pill Andrew Tate watching guys, yeah, like
Mhm.
you're gonna be dealing with a guy who probably wants you to have his fucking laundry folded on his bed and the dinner made, and you're not gonna question anything. But if you're talking to a guy who's more progressive, then yeah, he probably is really happy that you have a job, and I think that's good. Like, times have changed in that
Mhm.
sense,
Hmm.
but really depends on what partner you're looking at.
Yeah, and Rachel, you've talked to guys before where we've discussed them and we've like, oh, he's cute and this, that, and whatever, but we're like, oh, he's really conservative. And whenever we bring that word into it, we're almost bringing in, like, without saying it, we're bringing in all those things. Like, oh, he's probably going to expect you to be a stay-at-home mom, and he's probably a little bit racist, maybe a little homophobic. Like, it could, like,
Not
not that somebody that votes conservatively is also those things. I'm just saying that, like what you're saying, it's a lot about the person you're dating. Because I agree, we have come a long way, but there are still people that have that old-fashioned mindset.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like really weird in terms of especially being on my cowboy kick because I find the blue collar cowboy men like they are just chef's kiss so fucking hot. But the moment I know that you're conservative, it just like it just doesn't sit well with me. And that doesn't mean I would never, well, I probably wouldn't date a conservative, but it's hard for me because I that's like the physical look that I'm attracted to. But in terms of values, again, not all, but a lot of them just have different values than me. And like the way, I mean, we can say this, like Sarah, I knows this. I was talking to a guy who was conservative like a month and a half ago, and I was planning to go out on a date, and he sent me this text and basically was saying about how the Amazing Race Canada was essentially too diverse. He's like, I was going to go on Amazing Race this year. I thought about it, but I'm too white and I'm straight. And basically saying how like they're only taking on people who are like part of a minority group. And I was like, that just kind of solidified why I don't go for conservatives. But yeah.
Well, that text,
interesting concept.
yeah, no, and he said something like, because it was a text between him and his friend, and he said to his friend, oh, did you see the lineup for the Amazing Race? It sucks, like we won't make it because we're not a person of color, we're not disabled, our parents didn't flee from another country, we aren't gay, and we aren't trans, and like all this stuff. And when you sent it to me, I was like, that is crazy. He literally nailed every way to be like shitty and like conservative and narrow-minded and like old-fashioned that you could possibly hit. Like he was like, so for our date tomorrow, just wanted to remind you that I'm homophobic, racist, whatever it is to be against people with disabilities. Like I don't know what that even, like prejudice of some kind, whatever. Like he just literally nailed every way to be shitty in one text. It was efficient, but it was the last day you guys talked, I'm pretty sure. So
yeah, definitely. I almost like questioned myself after. I'm like, what am I putting out there that is making you think I would think that's okay? But I don't think it's me. I mean, but yeah, it goes to say like again, it's not all conservatives that are like that, and I know that. But it's just kind of shitty in terms of like it's hard to kind of navigate dating when that's what you're attracted to physically. But
yeah, and I think that Stell would have something to say about this for sure. But in lesbian relationships, there's a lot of like kind of that, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but how those roles kind of are displayed in a masc femme relationship, like kind of just that the masc woman will pay or the masc woman will drive, and she'll be the one to fix the broken sink, and that the femme person would be the one to be doing more of the cooking and cleaning and all that. So I think that's something to notice and to go against the grain on. Stell?
Yeah. Yeah, I find that's a big thing. Like I do find
like Stella,
myself
are you
like
paying for a first date
fixing
for
things
sure?
all the time and building things. But I like it also, to be fair. I like that kind of stuff. But that is like the first thing that pops in my head is like, am I going into these norms for genders because like gender norms because like I just naturally feel like I have to. I don't know. Like and then sometimes it's like vice versa. Like, but I go through phases where I'm like very masculine, and then there's some phases where I'm like extra
And as you should be, like you
pretty.
are just as entitled to be all of those things. And that's gay, straight, whatever, like bi, whatever you are, we are all, we all have parts masculine and parts feminine, male, female, trans, non-binary. Like we all have parts of both. And it's important to be in relationships
Mhm.
that allow us to comfortably express both and to not have your partner say like, oh, well, you're the mask one. Like obviously carry the groceries. Like what are you doing? Like, you know, like you want to be, you want to avoid that. And I think that's something that I've learned being with women is that just because I'm femme doesn't mean I can't do those kind of things too. Like I can still drive. Like, you know, because we also don't want to
And
lose, whether it be Rachel in a straight relationship or us, we don't want to lose our independence and start relying on someone to be fixing things and doing, or somebody doing all the cooking or somebody doing all the driving. Like we're all an even makeup or a balanced makeup of all of these things. And we should never let someone be, you know, taking control of that or whatever.
yeah, I
So
agree.
is that expectation the same though? Like how a guy is expected to pay for dinner? So like a mask, are you expected to pay still? And like if you are,
I
how do you feel?
find, yeah, I find yes, and I do feel a lot of pressure in that. So I find myself like constantly trying to pay first or pay most of the time. Like my last relationship was, I would say at first it was mostly me, but then we became very good at making it very even because at one point we got so like our lives were so intertwined and we were pretty much like just like a very comfortable like relationship. So we spent money as if it was like
Hours.
mutual hours.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so like so it didn't even like go through my head I think towards the end, but I do find myself paying as much as like a lot because I find I need to do it. And I've talked to girls who've been like, yeah, if you didn't pay for this dinner, I wouldn't have won out with you again. And I was like, oh,
Like it,
So, okay, so here's what's kind of that what's interesting to me is a lot of the reasons why men are expected to pay for dates is because of like the wage gap and obviously women are, you know, they're going out on a date with a man and could potentially be a really fucking unsafe situation and women are putting more time into their looks, etc. But it's interesting how that kind of transcends over to where like mask women are also expected to pay, but you're struggling with the same wage gap that we are. So why is that the same? Should it not be different because you're both women or
yeah, I don't know. But the current thing I'm in,
CSP, yeah.
see the current CSP I'm with, we're very, like very good. I find of equaling it out.
And I think sometimes at the beginning, it's worse. Like that there's the expectation that the man in a heterosexual relationship or the mask in a lesbian relationship would pay for things. But then when you're in, like you said, Stella, when you're in a serious relationship and you've been together for a year or even a month or 6 months, like let's just be serious. Like obviously one person can't pay for everything. Like that just is crazy. Like I always offer, like
Yeah.
I'll always offer, or I'll put my card down first to assert my dominance and my independence, whether with men or women. I've always been like that. Um, but it's nice to be taken care of, and I do like that as well. So yeah, I think it's
Mm.
about, you know, finding a balance once you're comfortable with somebody. But of course, also disagreeing with the obligation to fill those roles. Like, so yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's a not a tough subject, but um hard because like yeah, on the first date, Rachel, like you said, like with the wage gap, like when I was dating men, I kind of did expect them to pay for the first date though. But that doesn't mean the eighth date. Like that's different. So, but
Mhm.
anyway. Um well, that's all the points that I have to discuss. Is there anything else that anyone here would like to say as a final comment? Rachel, what do you want to leave our viewers with? Something insightful.
That's such a hard question.
Leave them with the 3-strike rule.
Even with the 3-strike rule, bro, there's dust down there. Like, I'm not working on any 3-strike rule right
I
now.
know, but leave them with that wisdom.
With that wisdom, I think any wisdom that I would give is to know what you want and to advocate for yourself. And I think as you know what you like and as you know what you deserve, your dating pool will shrink like fucking crazy. Like, the dating pool I considered when I was in college is a lot different than now. And I think the more that you know yourself and you know what you deserve, you know what you want, it gets harder to find somebody, but the options are a lot better. So that would be the wisdom I would have. Like, definitely get to know yourself, and advocate for yourself, whether it's in the bedroom or not. Yeah, that would be what I would say.
Amazing.
Do you have any questions? Do you have any questions from the audience?
We don't have any questions from them right now, but we can ask them. If you guys have any questions for us or for Rachel, because she's always around, we could always have her back, or we could have her even just feature on an Instagram story or something, answering questions if anyone, or if you would like to slide into her DMs and ask her on a date. I know we probably don't have a lot of straight men listening, but if we do, she is hot and single and ready to mingle if you are within her dating pool. So we can assess that at a later date.
I'm dead. This is actually a dating game.
Yes. That's why I started with the speed round, just to start with that, So, okay, well, thank you guys all for listening. And I guess what I'll leave with is, don't feel obligated to the expectations that have been set by yourself, by your partner, by family, porn, whatever it is. I don't like that family and porn came one after the other. That was weird. But just don't, like Rachel said, advocate for yourself, stand up for yourself, like in bed or just in life, and make choices that are best for yourself, and don't feel obligated to suit anybody's expectations other than what you want for yourself.
Yeah, nice,
cool.
And then I guess I don't know what to leave you guys with. You guys did all this, and I'm like trying to brainstorm, and I'm like, what do I say? But basically, okay, let's leave you with, just because you're masked doesn't mean you have to kill all the bugs, and just because you're masked, you can be the passenger princess if you'd like. Because you know what, I recently discovered I like it.
Mm-hmm.
I do prefer to drive, but but I'm just saying. And for my hetero friends out there, just, I guess, to the males, it's okay to cry. And to my females, be the girl boss you were meant to be.
Amazing.
Okay.
Stella redeemed herself from when she blacked out earlier.
That's funny. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for listening, and thank you for coming. Bye.
Thanks for coming.